What's up, mountain bike riders? Hey, excited to share with you today my new Rockshox Zeb Ultimate. This is basically Rockshox's new behemoth of an enduro fork. I won't talk about the specs on this because I think that's been done to death from the online guys. But just a little bit about myself. I'm a decent rider and I ride for fun and fitness. I don't necessarily ride competitively or race, but I do like to work on my times. And I think that I'm a huge tinkerer in terms of setup, and I really love to get my setup dialed, because hey, if you have confidence and your setup is confidence inspiring, then basically you end up just going faster, right? So I think we can all agree on that. If you like this kind of content and want to hear more about the Zeb, because this definitely won't be the last video, spoiler alert, and want to hear more about my other mods on the bike, then by all means do the whole YouTube like and subscribe thing. Just to give you a quick download on what I'll talk about in this video, because it does run a little bit long, so I'll give you a cliff notes of what's going on in case you want to skip forward or just go straight to these individual topics. Okay, so first I start off with a quick unboxing of the Zeb, and I'll talk a little bit about the specs that I ordered this in and why I had to order those specs. And I then broke it down into the more important part of this video, which is a day one versus day two ride impression, ride comparison on my efforts to get my setup right and what I was doing to get my setup right, and how it ultimately affected my geometry on the bike, and some of the things that I'm doing to alleviate those issues so that the setup is absolutely perfect. In a nutshell, just cliff note, spoiler alert, I do really like the shock, and I think that there are some adjustments I need to make to get my setup just right, and I'll share those with you guys. And I do think that there's some promise here, so it's pretty good. Oh, lastly, on the last part of this video is probably the more important piece that I wanted to get across, because I don't think it's talked about enough about this particular fork. And I don't know if this is the case with the Fox 38, but on this fork, I go through a bunch of measurements towards the end of this video, and I want to help you guys understand why this particular fork could have an impact on your bike's geometry. And I know some people may not care about that, and some people may like to over fork their bikes for specific reasons, but I think I'll go through in this video on why you may not want to do that. All right, so enjoy the video. Hope you guys learned something. Leave me comments with questions and I'll do my best to answer them. All right, guys. Okay guys, here's a quick unboxing. I ordered this about a month ago as soon as they came out. I ordered this in a 180 travel because the 170 was back ordered for a few months and I really didn't want to wait. I knew I could always get a air shaft for it. What's inside is that flimsy factory fender. I do have the bolt-on fender from Rockshox on order. Comes with a couple tokens, comes with a star nut, zip ties, etc. And basically the packaging is pretty Spartan. It's what I like. I like companies to save money and not spend too much on packaging. And the most important part was it came in great condition, no scratches, basically brand new condition. And I'll be cutting that steer tube a little high at first, but eventually as soon as I figure out my proper stem height, then it will be cut to length and nice and flush. All right. First descent on the Rockshox Zeb on my Yeti SB150. That's what everyone says. A lot plusher off the top. This section pretty gnarly, but lots of grip. which is over 4 to 180 from a 170. So she sits a little higher in the front. Very plush off the top. Coming off a Fox 36 factory. Had that for about 2 years. Yeah, definitely plusher off the top. You definitely notice the geo change with the 10 to 15 millimeter rise at the top, slacking out. Makes these climbs a little bit slightly more awkward. Ooh, took that really well. That would have been an OTB for sure. I have about 8 clicks of rebound on this fork. It's only a one-way adjustable rebound. Wide open on high-speed compression. About midway, I think 8 clicks too on low-speed compression. Just as baseline starting points. Yeah, definitely notice the stability of the longer travel in the front here. It's a trade-off, you know. Rockshox recommends 72 psi for my riding weight, which is 200 pounds on the front fork. I ran it a little bit lower, 69 as a starting point, just to see if I can get it to sit a little bit lower, because the 10 to 15 millimeter increased travel and rise in the front, it's kind of a lot. I didn't really enjoy my ripple being over forked that much, so I may decide to put a 170 air shaft in the Zeb. But man, she feels good. Those little small bumps, feels very, very cushioned. Not going for a time today, more trying to feel out this front fork here. You can see her. Thanks. One more. Lots of hikers today. See our trails here in Santa Barbara is a little chunky. Fun to sell. I don't know, she feels pretty good. It's definitely different than the Fox 4-way factory grip 2 damper, because that one it took me a good few weeks to get it to feel right. This one feels pretty good, so I'm not really sure if I want to make any changes right now. Thank you. She's definitely plush. Yeah, super nice under hard braking. Lots of support. So far, so good. Yeah, that was nothing. So I may try some bracketing, add and remove rebound compression on my next few runs, but there isn't much. Doesn't feel like much I need to do here. Thanks, guys. Whew. Nice line through there. Pretty chunky section. Hard to see on camera how steep that was, but oh, I should have taken the other line. Okay. So there she is. Just on a normal X2. Would be nice to upgrade that at some point. But I'm not using much travel at all. So I'm probably gonna let some air out because that first initial, like almost OTB, should have taken me pretty far up the top. So I've still got quite a ways to go. I know it's just the first ride, but I may definitely considering turning this 180 into a 170. This bike and fork, it's a beast. So far so good. This trail doesn't have much of the super fast, chundry, rocky section. There's a lot of flow and a lot of bigger chunk. So I can't test how this does under fast, kind of arm pumpy sections. Yep, like nothing. Definitely noticeable from the Fox 36 Kashima. Okay, here's a little bit of chunder. Feels pretty good. Here's more. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, this 180 is like a monster truck. Do I notice the torsional stiffness? I'm not entirely sure yet. See what I mean by monster truck. Those were good drops and just kind of takes it, you know. I'm not convinced I'm going to keep it a 180. I think I like the Geo of the 170. Thank you. Took the wrong line there. See, that's a section where it's super steep. Not sure if you can see, but it puts my fork too high up, and it gets to a point where I can't put any more weight on the front handlebars, and it just wheelies out. That's why I want the 170 back on. Oh man, that's so fun. One of my favorite trails. Ooh. Yeah, buddy. Zeb for the win. Hey guys, what's up? This is day 2 of the Rockshox Zeb. Just basically the second day I'm on it. Did a couple changes since the first day. Let's see, dropped the air 5 psi just to kind of get it to sit a little bit lower. I also added 1 click of high-speed compression just to help tame some of that off the top a little bit. But nothing else. Kept the rebound and compression and low-speed compression the same. Oh, I also adjusted the stem. I basically lowered the stem about 10 to 12 millimeters just to try to get some of that climbing balance back. Tire pressures are the same. Everything else is the same. You guys don't care, but I added a little bit of air in the shock and added 1 click of compression. It's only a 2-way, and that's basically it. So this trail starts off kind of flow, and then it gets real super chundry. So the thing about this trail that I like is it has a little bit of everything. Not that many drops. It's just kind of one, like a 2-foot drop, huck to flat basically, and it gets super chattery and chundry at the end, which is when it's a kind of a good test for suspension, because they get really hot. So air temperature affects how those perform. Here it goes. Still real nice off the top. Oh, bell went off on its own there, but that's okay. Oh yeah, lots of traction on the front under hard those braking bumps. Much better than how I had the 36 tuned. Real loose today, real hot, real loose. Decent support. Riding a little low in the front as I expected, but hasn't seemed to affect grip that much. Oh gosh, much more composed than the 36 in that section. Not trying to get a time today, so I'm not trying to go for speed, but I really want to feel out the suspension. Whoop. Yeah, washed out a little bit there. Real loose today. Today's very typical Southern California dry, loose over hard pack conditions. I think I'm getting too much squish in the front. I'm losing some of that support under hard braking. Yeah, definitely. So she wants to dive when I'm on the brakes right now. So I've got to put a little bit more weight on the rear of the bike, try to bounce it out. Slightly different riding style than the Fox, but it's just a tune. Be curious to see how much travel I've used so far. Let's see. Can you guys see that? Not that much. Not as much as I thought. Wow, real flush off the top. That section usually gives me decent arm pump, but she's pretty comfy, I gotta say. Oh, almost OTB'd there. Oh, the pedal strike. Yeah. Definitely take some adjustment riding the new settings. So far, I think I prefer the 70 psi instead of the 65. So what I'm gonna try to do is keep it at 65, so so it sits a little bit lower to try to get some of that until I get the 170 air shaft. Yeah, she's getting caught up in the front. I usually make it through there, but I got a 170 air shaft on order, so for now I may keep it at 65 psi on the 180, but add a couple tokens. That should firm it up a little bit. I'm gonna try to add a little bit more high speed. So this has 4, so that's all the way. So let's back it off 2. So I'm in the middle high speed. There's a section here, it gets a little chundry. I may session it just to show you guys what it's about. But it's fast, it's chattery, and suspension gets work in that section. Let's turn off this bell. Yeah, she starts to lose composure with these settings through that. Oh, there's a tree down. That must have just happened. Feel that shock. Yeah, it's warm. She's warm. Okay. Here we go. Back at it. Real loose today. Here's a drop. Usually carry more speed through there. If it wasn't for the tree. Yeah, this is when it gets chattery. Let's session that another time because that didn't quite. So put that back. Okay. I'm gonna climb up this so you guys can see a different angle. So these are the steps. I just grabbed the rear shock and it's warm. She is warm. Okay, I decided to climb up it a little bit more. I made some adjustments. I took off compression 1 click and added rebound here 1 click. But we're not here to talk about the shock. Let's see. Now it's fully open on the high speed. She was getting bucked a little bit offline on that chundry section down there, and I added 3 more clicks of rebound. Definitely more control through there, but she's starting to skip. It's all that rebound. So let's open her up the other way. So I went with, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Now let's go 2 more the other way. Kept that the same. It's crazy how immediately noticeable that is. Yeah, it's really that rear shock is letting me down right now. I wish I could have done that more and did some bracketing on the front rebound. But she's definitely diving a lot more under braking, probably because the air pressure. So got some changes. Definitely feels a lot faster to dial in than the Fox. With a 36 grip too, you got, you know, those 4 parameters. To deal with. High speed, low speed on both ends. Okay, I made it through there. Yeah. It's not too bad. Yeah, so I'm gonna do some measurements, try to figure out what kind of geo change this has made. I definitely have a lot to go as far as the settings are concerned on the Zeb. Do I think it's better than the Fox 36? As of now, to be honest, I see signs of really, really good things. I'm not sure if it's going to solve necessarily the problem I'm looking for. I may need a coil to kind of keep that control in that section, but definitely much more composed off the top, way more plush, way smoother. But in that real chundery section, I've still got to figure out those settings. It did improve with a little bit of tweaking that I've done here, but it's going to take maybe a little bit longer than I expected. Maybe a couple more rides, 2 or 3 more rides. Oh, what's up guys? Hey, this is part of day 2, but many moments later. I was trying to get to the bottom of why the Zeb feels significantly different in terms of geo as opposed to the original, or not the original, but the previous Fox 36 that I had on there. And I think I found pretty much why there's such a big difference. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. So you can see here I have them both laid out in pretty much as symmetrically as I can. Basically I lined up the crown here as best as I could. Now GoPro has a distorted lens, so you're gonna have to bear with me here. But you can see that basically it adds about 20 millimeters of additional crown to axle length. So that's basically, you know, raking up the front of my SB150 by another 150 20 millimeters. So that's pretty significant actually. So I'm not sure what I'll do from this point. You guys can see, let's just go from the steer tube to the crown all the way down, and that's basically the axle to crown difference in length. Now granted, this is a 170 and this is a 180, so that 20 millimeters subtract 10 to get to apples, so you still have an increase of 10 millimeters on that on the axle to crown. So if I was to do this again, and if I was to really try to preserve the same geo, I would have to go with a 160. Drop this from a 180 to a 160 to get the same axle to crown. That will probably suffer 10 millimeters of travel. So that's an interesting conundrum. I'll have to think about that. But you know, we can just take some quick fun measurements here. Try not to scratch up these stanchions, but let's see what we're seeing. That's definitely 38. You can see that. And over here, that's definitely 36. So you can see the difference. Let's just look at these together or closely. I moved the one up cap from here to over here, and I believe this was elliptical in shape. I can't remember, maybe that was the Fox, but you can see that the crown is machined. I think this looks like this is cast. This looks like it might be billet machined. I'm not 100% sure, but I can just tell from the machining surface that might be the case. Maybe not, maybe it's just a cast piece with a machine finish, but definitely some decent differences here. So this part of the crown is way thicker. Let's measure that roughly. So that is roughly 65-ish. This is roughly 55. Wow, 10 millimeters wider in girth. So anyway, aside from cosmetic differences, obviously the lowers have a different shape, and you know, a few other things, but that was kind of the eye-opener for me. We'll have to see what we do next year. I'll have to give it some thought, but for now, to keep the 180 and to be able to get it as kind of a middle ground, is kind of compromise situation. Again, this is why I don't like over forking bikes, and I'm convinced I don't want to do it unless I have a really good reason, which is like if I'm setting up for a bike park or something like that. But I'll be keeping the PSI at 65. So Rockshox recommends for my weight 72. On day one of the initial ride, I had it at 70. Day two, I have it at 65. So what I'll do is I'm going to add some volume spacers so I can preserve the ride height to be a little bit lower, but give me some added support under hard braking with hopefully these tokens. Hey guys, hey, I'm gonna wrap up this video a little bit prematurely, but I will do a follow-up video once I get the 160 and the 170 fork on hand. I have those ordered, and hopefully they'll be coming any day now, and I'll spend a couple rides on them. I'll do a little bit more tuning on the damper, because on day one, as you guys saw, the damper was really good. It felt really good. The factory Rockshox settings was pretty good. So I noticed that it was really more the geometry I had issues with. So that's what I was struggling with on day two, which, you know, once I get the right air shaft, hopefully I'll just solve that problem and really just focus on the damping and the air pressure. So with that said, hopefully you guys learned something out of this video. Then, you know, if you want to continue to follow my progress with this fork or other parts on this bike, then by all means, like, subscribe, and I'll upload something to this channel in terms of my progress with this fork. Right? Hope you guys are good. Hope you guys are safe. Please be kind and have a great day. By the way, because I forget, I always appreciate the guys that helped me. Bunch of thanks to Maxxis for these awesome tires, and also I want to make sure to thank my local LBSs. So here in Santa Barbara, if you're in Santa Barbara, make sure you check out VeloPro, and if you're in LA, check out Universal Cycles. They're in Studio City. So those guys are fantastic. They're awesome guys. I would be enjoying this sport a lot less, trust me, if it wasn't for those guys. All right, so check them out.